I want to give you 3 quick lessons from the life of Joseph. Things that you can apply to your regular life if you'll find them in Genesis 41. We all know the story of Joseph being sold into Egypt by his brothers and his situation there, and how all of his fortunes seemed to turn over time from negative and back into positive. So after the incident with Joseph and Potiphar's wife, Joseph is in prison, and he quickly rises to the top of the ranks even in the prison, if you can call them ranks. He seems to be put in charge over a few things here and there by the captain of the guard. He helped the chief butler and the chief baker interpret their dreams, and of course, the chief butler forgot about him when he went back to serve Pharaoh. But now, Joseph is about to be pulled out of jail, and he is about to go into the presence of Pharaoh himself. And there are some important things we need to note here. In Genesis chapter 41, verses 14, Pharaoh calls for Joseph. What does Joseph do? The Bible says that Pharaoh sent and called for Joseph and brought him quickly out of the dungeon. And here's what he did. He shaved, he changed his clothing, and came to Pharaoh. Now that may seem like an unimportant piece of information, but it actually is not. Joseph is preparing himself to look as best as he can before Pharaoh. Imagine that. Imagine that. Because even today, we have people who will stand up even in the pulpits of churches dressed like overgrown 10-year-olds. Not dressed like men, but dressed like kids, and that's a huge problem. We have a responsibility to dress with self-respect, to present ourselves, our physical appearance, not overdoing it and becoming obsessed with it, but being presentable to other people, and especially to those who are in positions of power. And that's the first thing we learn. So right after Joseph presents himself to Pharaoh, Pharaoh asks for the interpretation of the dreams. In a few passages down, Joseph did what many faithful men do throughout the Bible, and what we need to learn to do in our own lives, which is give the credit to God instead of taking the credit all on ourselves. So still in Genesis 41, verse 16, Joseph answered Pharaoh and says, "It's not in me. God will give Pharaoh the answer of peace." That lets us know that Joseph is a man that, even through all of his circumstances, still gives credit to God and gives the power to God to do such things, such as interpreting dreams, but even the other things in his life. You can see that throughout his entire life, and that's something that we could learn to do as well. There have been people in the Bible who take the credit all to themselves, and they're punished for it. There are kings in the Bible who do such things. And then the last lesson is in the same chapter 41, but verse 33. After Joseph has interpreted the dreams, he gives a little bit of advice to Pharaoh about appointing a wise and discerning man over all of the gathering of the extra produce for the years of famine. And he doesn't suggest himself. Out of humility, he suggests that just some wise and discerning individual be chosen. It's that type of humility that probably, in addition to the interpretation of the dream, made him stand out to Pharaoh as the man who should be put in charge. And it's that kind of humility that we could learn today, suggesting someone else above ourselves. And then maybe we may find it that we ourselves are the one who are put in the position of power. Because if you read the rest of the chapter, you'll find that Joseph quickly rises to power and becomes the second most powerful man in the land of Egypt, arguably the world power at that time. And that is what made it even more important that he maintained his humility, he maintained a God-first attitude when he was in that position of power. Many people will try to say that there's no need for power, we shouldn't try to be involved, we should just let whatever happens, but no, you may find yourself in a position where you're in charge of something and a lot of things are riding on you. So you have to ensure that you have the character to manage that level of power.